don't know if that was short enough to avoid the copyright strike, but it's always worth a try. Not that it matters, it just means that I can't publish these videos quite as quickly. This is after a long delay. After a delay of at least 6 weeks long, but I think it's like 7 weeks since I've done one of these. And I'm putting this together and I realize why I stopped. It takes a long time. Episode 62 for August the 3rd, 2020. What's love got to do with it? Kygo, of course, Tina Turner classic, but that's the Kygo remix, and it gets better. It gets better as the song goes on. Commentary of the day. Value signaling for profit. There's this piece in the New York Times about Ben and Jerry. And I actually didn't know that Ben and Jerry's, first of all, how do you dominate ice cream like this? They went from something like 270 million in sales to like 600 plus after the Unilever acquisition back in 2012. I think it was Unilever bought them. But they maintain an independent board, and Ben and Jerry are still involved. And they were interviewed. And they talked about how the Body Shop and Patagonia were pioneers in creating this model of a business that saw making profits to be co-equal, interesting word, co-equal with the purpose of improving society beyond just providing jobs. That was Ben Cohen, who's the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's, together with Jerry Greenfield. The commentary here is that a lot of companies pretend to be sensitive to this sort of concept of triple bottom line. They sort of, I think they sort of pander to this because they think it's going to help them in the PR department. They think it's going to help them ultimately be more successful as businesses. But very few really succeed in this. Ben and Jerry have together actually moved the needle. They shut down a jail that was housing folks that just couldn't post bail in St. Louis. They moved the needle on a couple of other major social causes. So they actually put their commitment into action. Very few companies do that, and many more companies just suggest they're doing it. And so I talk about value signaling for profit. What I'm really talking about here is who does this and really makes it happen, and who doesn't. Word of the day, risible, which means something like laughter or something like that. It means laughter. Where is it? Waiting for the vaccine. Here we are.
Risible.
Capable of laughing, disposed to laugh, arousing or provoking laughter. If someone makes a ridiculous remark about your risible muscles, they are also, so it also means, can be associated with laughter. It also means that the muscles used for laughing. When they arrived, for example, they were treated to a sight that was surreal as it was risible. Some obscure, or the tradition of risible cable reality hits like Married at First Sight and 90 Day Fiancé, Netflix new social experiment. Anyway, I hadn't heard this word, but it means capable of laughing or disposed to laughter. There you are, risible. Word of the day, quotes of the day. Man, I'm rusty at this. I've lost my flow. People. Oh, practice makes perfect. Yeah, or whatever. Quotes of the day. So am I. What would go into a Joe Biden flavor and what would go in a Donald Trump flavor? This is part of that interview with Ben and Jerry. Cohen says, a Trump flavor? That's not palatable. You can't make Trump into an ice cream. You could make him into coal. What about Biden? Cohen says, that's an interesting question. And he sighs, it'd be better than nothing. And ain't that the truth? Here's another quote from an article that will come up in the news section. Waiting for a better vaccine to come along may feel like torture, but it is the right move. With so many potential shots on goal, scientists are optimistic that a safe and effective vaccine is out there. We can't afford to jeopardize the public's health and hard-earned trust by approving anything short of that. This is from Natalie Dean, an assistant professor of biostats at the University of Florida. I am less certain, I'm not a scientist, I'm certainly not an epidemiologist, I'm certainly not a virologist, but I am less certain that we will indeed be able to vaccinate against the COVID virus. Well, I'm very unsure how long the immunity will last. But, a vaccine that gives us 2 or 3 months of immunity, if we inoculate people quickly enough, could still be highly effective. In the news, Krugman has written a searing rebuke of the U.S. lawmakers' incapacity to agree on an extension of unemployment benefits in the states. Most people, like 30 odd million people, are going from $600 a week to nothing because Congress has gone into recess without an agreement on this. It seems like a shocking drop in support. Now, that support was very expensive, but to go from zero, from 600 to zero, or $2,400 a month to zero, however you want to do the math, seems just implausible. And Krugman, and he outlines how it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, and it's become a partisan issue. And there's a lot of uncertainty about whether a vaccine will be effective, even if it works. It's well covered in a piece in the New York Times. The piece goes into things like, first of all, there was a survey. Under half of Americans surveyed would take a vaccine. That now, and this epidemiologist actually suggests that they wouldn't be so sure unless there's an appropriate amount of testing. And you rush something as important as this, it could be immunoenhancing, which is one of the bizarre side effects of a vaccine that's not well developed. Sometimes it can actually enhance the virus's capacity to attack you because you half get the response with the vaccine, but that makes it easier for the real virus to get you because the body has it's learned half the response, and that gets in the way of a proper response, a proper immunity. It's called immunoenhancement. It's a bizarre side effect. It's happened quite often in vaccine attempts, though. That's a risk. The length of immunity is unknown. How it affects different populations is unknown. All of this data takes quite a long time to gather. You need a lot of people to be inoculated, and you need to see whether they get the vaccine or whether they develop the virus, and you need to see how strong that virus is. It's going to take at least a year of data to have any real certainty. Most people should probably not be taking this vaccine until there's a good 6 at minimum to 12 months of data. This is not factored in. And I haven't even covered making it in volume or getting people to take it or paying for it or distributing it globally at once. All these things are necessary. Picture of the day from one of my favorite dishes. This is me in the middle of chopping the ingredients for my chicken fajitas, which I have not made for a long time. No COVID positive life changer of the day today. Wow, there we go, in the can. 8 minutes, maybe a little lengthy, but first one in 6 weeks. Great to see you guys. Cheers for now.